Happy New Year's Eve, one and all. Welcome back to Eye of the Beholder, where we review Dungeons & Dragons miniatures produced by WOTC and WizKids for the 20-year time span of 2003 through 2023. We'll be finishing up with the last of the true giants in this video, so settle in with a drink and a snack, because this is going to run a little long. I'm going to start with a few one-offs before I get to the meat and potatoes, stone giants and storm giants. Sand giants made their one and only appearance in 2004's Monster Manual 3. Natives of Faerun, these desert dwellers tend to live peacefully in small communities, welcoming travelers and trade. They are formidable foes if roused to combat, using the desert as their allies, burying themselves in sand to strike from ambush, and blowing a cone of sand at their enemies through a special metal tube before closing to scimitar range. We get our one and only Sand Giant miniature in 2006's War Drum set. Armed with his sandblaster in one hand and a nasty-looking scimitar in the other, he is dressed in desert colors, a yellow tunic and brown trousers under tan leather armor. I really like the detailing on said armor, with individual leather squares riveted together to cover his chest and back. The dark skin really shows off his muscular arms as well. However, rarity reflects playability. So score is Paint 19, Pose 15, Playability 8, Pizzazz 17 for a score of 59. Tears made their first appearance in the OG Monster Manual 2 of 1983. While medium size, they are related to giants and tend to make their lairs in frigid mountainous regions. They prefer to do their raiding and pillaging during the coldest of weather, when most other races are huddled indoors. This allows them to stock up on supplies for the warmer months, where they keep to their mountain ranges. We get our only Tyre mini in 2004's Aberration set. Posed in a semi-squat with his elongated arms reaching the ground, his visage of yellow eyes over a wide-open red maw are the only colors on the body, which is snow white with a very generous blue dark wash. Armed with a club held low to the ground, this mini is perfect for any snowy encounter. And while it is an early mini, it is a common, so getting enough to create a tier raiding party shouldn't be too difficult. Score: Paint 13, Pose 12, Playability 15, Pizzazz 13 for a score of 53. Also first appearing in the OG Monster Manual 2, Verbeegs are the most human-like of giants, taller of course than humans, with elongated faces and long gangly limbs. Despite their appearance, they are very cunning, known to word promises in such a way as to always favor themselves. Accomplished spear throwers, their favorite method of combat is to send in their minions first to soften up their adversaries while throwing multiple spears into the fray. We get our only Verbeeg mini in 2021 Snowbound set, and it is a perfect replica of the book art. Spear and shield in one hand while carrying a barrel under his other arm. It's only missing the dog as he plods through the snow. Not a lot of detailing on this one. You can barely make out any facial features, and his garments, brown trousers under a scale mail breastplate, are nondescript at best. However, if you need a Verbeeg, this is your only option, so score is Paint 11, Pose 13, Playability 17, Pizzazz 12 for a score of 53. Stone giants are as reclusive as they are artistic. Preferring underground or mountainous environments, they tend to run thinner than other giant races, with skin coloring covering the full spectrum of grays, the better to blend into their environment. Considered the wisest of the giants, they try to avoid combat. If forced to do so, they prefer to hurl boulders at their foes, turning to stone clubs if forced to fight in close quarters. WOTC gives us our first stone giant in 2005's Angel Fire set. With only the whites of his eyes showing, you could easily say how this giant could blend in with his surroundings. His blue-gray body and dark brown tunic would be difficult to spot underground. His pose reflects this, as if striking from ambush, slightly crouched with his club raised well above his head. Score: Paint 12, Pose 12, Playability 13, Pizzazz 12, for a score of 49. The very next set of 2005, Underdark, gives us this unusual stone giant. Called a hunch giant, for obvious reasons, he is crouched down on one knee with his left hand on the ground for balance. In his right, he holds a spiked warhammer at the ready. Such a pose can only mean one thing: ambush time. His blue-gray body, even with the back tattoos, would blend perfectly in a dark underground environment. Finally, note the snarling face. Score: Paint 15, Pose 17, Playability 16, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 63. Two years later, we get a more book-correct stone giant miniature in the unhallowed set of 2007. Called a stone giant rune carver, his thin, blue-gray body is perfect, as is the fact he is obviously about to start a battle by throwing a boulder at his foes, which may have magical properties based on the runes carved on it. Besides the runes on the boulder, there's a lot of great detailing on this mini. The detailing of the hammer, the brown tunic, the belt holding the dagger and small mallet, and especially the grim yet determined facial features. Score: Paint 20, Pose 25, Playability 13, Pizzazz 22, for a score of 80. WOTC gives us their final stone giant in their final set, 2010's Lords of Madness. To me, it's a bit of a step back from the last one, with barely discernible facial features and a body that looks too stone-like to me. And yes, I know that sounds like an oxymoron. I do like the bright silver and gold belt that adds a pop of color, though. Pose-wise, we've seen this before: striding forward, stone club held high above the head, etc., etc. Score: Paint 14, Pose 13, Playability 13, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 53. Right out of the box, WizKids gives us a stone giant miniature in their inaugural 2014 set, Tyranny of Dragons. Although mounted on a large base, he stands as tall as most other WizKids stone giant minis. Pose is definitely combat ready, moving with haste, note the left foot possession, toward his foe, crouched low, eyes locked on his target, and wooded club held high above his head. Nice coloring as well. The browns and white of his clothing contrasts nicely with the blue skin, and the pop of silver on the buckles is cool too. Score: Paint 21, Pose 24, Playability 20, Pizzazz 23, for a score of 88. From here on out, it's all huge. Starting with this stone giant from 2016 Storm King's Thunder set. Despite being posed similarly to the previous mini, except this guy's a southpaw, this mini just doesn't convey the same energy as the previous one. Here, the pose suggests that he's already engaged in combat, body facing his foe with a slight leftward stance as he's about to swing his club. As before, the tan tunic with cream and white highlights looks great against the blue-green skin. Score: Paint 19, Pose 20, Playability 20, Pizzazz 18, for a score of 77. WizKids' proclivity to release two versions of the same mini strikes again in 2018's Monster Menagerie 3 set. Called a Stone Giant Dreamwalker, interestingly enough, while they are posed battle-ready, each has a weapon not normally associated with stone giants, a double-bladed staff for the one in the gray on brown tunic, and a sickle for the one on tan with tan on brown. Another interesting detail, there appears to be something embedded in the left shoulder. Any ideas? Score: Paint 16, Pose 16, Playability 15, pizzazz 15, for a score of 62. Our next stone giant comes out 3 years later in the 2021 Snowbound set. And I have the same complaint I did with the hill giant I reviewed from this set in the last video. If you have a giant in a set called Snowbound, how is he mostly naked but for a simple tunic? We already have plenty of stone giants that look exactly like this one. Give me one covered in animal furs and wearing boots. I do like that he's armed with a broken stalactite for a club, though, holding it like a Chicago cop holds a billy club. Score: Paint 15, Pose 15, Playability 13, Pizzazz 12, for a score of 55. Two years later, we get two distinct stone giants in 2023's Bigby Presents Glory of the Giants. The first is this stone giant of evil earth. Not sure what that means, but this guy is ready to rock. Also armed with a stalactite, but this one has chips of obsidian embedded for extra pain. He is also our best armored stone giant, with gray helm, pauldrons, breastplate, tassets, and greaves head to toe, all heavily rune carved. Pose is relaxed but ready, body turned sideways to minimize targeting, club held aloft in ready position. Me? I would use this guy as the frontline troops protecting a stone giant enclave. Score: Paint 17, Pose 20, Playability 18, Pizzazz 20, for a score of 75. Our final stone giant is this capstone mini from the Bigby set. Called a Stone Giant Rock Speaker, this guy is definitely a shaman. Armed only with a staff topped with multicolored gems that is surely magical. The most noticeable detail is the halo of stones circling his head. Also, take note of the red gems embedded in each wrist, as well as the red, yellow, and blue ones in his face and head. Posed in mid-spell casting with his staff held high, I imagine he is calling upon the rocks and boulders to hurl themselves at his enemies. Score: Paint 18, Pose 25, Playability 14, Pizzazz 21, for a score of 78. Storm giants are the tallest and strongest of the giant kind, topping out at over 26 feet and 15,000 pounds. Excellent spellcasters, they are less likely to throw boulders at their enemies, much preferring to cast spells, especially Lightning Bolt, which they have an innate ability to cast. If the PCs are actually able to fight through the spell barrage and attack a storm giant directly, well, good luck with that. Fun fact: storm giants are perfectly at home underwater and often have their lairs below the waves. Check it out. Our first storm giant miniature from 2004's Giants of Legend set is female. Dressed in layers, white tunic with yellow trim underneath leather armor, underneath a golden breastplate and helm, she is well armed, wielding a giant two-handed sword with a great bow strapped to her back. Cool feathering for the arrows, by the way. I also really like the facial features. To me, they convey a calmness before the storm. No pun intended. Final note, check out the silver gray hair cascading down her back. Score: Paint 21, Pose 18, Playability 23, Pizzazz 24, for a score of 86. No. WOTC, what were you thinking? This is a storm giant? From 2008's Against the Giants set, if this is the best they can do for a storm giant, they should just have not. And it's not like the set didn't include huge miniatures, it did. 12 of them. Seriously, if you can't do it right, don't do it. The pity is that it's not a bad mini, with the blue skin and runes on the bicep, full hair and beard, and raised warhammer. It's just, no. Score: Paint 13, Pose 14, Playability 4, Pizzazz 7, for a score of 38. A year later, WOTC learned the error of its ways with this Storm-Tight miniature from 2009's Monster Manual Legendary Evil set. Now this is an eye-catching mini. His dark blue body is streaked with lightning on chest and back, while he calls forth a light purple bolt of translucent lightning. At his feet, a tempest of purple translucence rages, swirling about his feet and blowing his hair and beard to the side. An ornate belt and bracers complete the look, and while he's still a bit on the small size, it's a 1,000% improvement over their last effort. Score: Paint 25, Pose 25, Playability 16, Pizzazz 25, for a score of 91. You know, I bang on WizKids all the time when I disagree with their visions, but give credit where credit is due. When it comes to Storm Giants, they totally understood the assignment. From 2016's Storm King's Thunder, perfect, we get two. The first is King Hecaton. Standing head and shoulders above other giant kind, he wears a brown cloak over white tunic and leggings with a golden crown and belt, among other accoutrements. The long, snow-white hair and beard are perfect, and let's talk about his weapon. An ornate silver mace with a magical effect literally billowing off the head. He stands tall, one fist raised, the epitome of regalness. This guy is huge. Check him out next to WOTC's Storm Giant. Score, you probably already guessed, 100. Also from Storm King's Thunder, we get Armreth, perhaps Hecaton's consort, or a royal functionary, or just another badass storm giant. The positioning of her arms along with the shape of her blue dress indicates forward movement. You can see the shape of her right knee clearly under the dress. As she moves, lightning crackles about her body, announcing her presence with authority. Her face has a haughtiness to it, chin raised in a defiant tilt while her eyes gaze slightly downward. Not quite on the level of King Hecaton, but damn good. Score: Paint 22, Pose 25, Playability 24, Pizzazz 25, for a score of 96. Two years later, WizKids gives us another male-female pair in 2018's Monster Menagerie 3 set, starting with the Storm Giant Quintessent. She is dressed in an absolutely gorgeous, form-fitting green dress with black and gold enameled highlights, along with a matching hood. Golden bracers and black sandals complete the look. All of this might go unnoticed, though, due to the twin lightning bolts from blue translucence she is conjuring, one striking downward toward her bare legs, while the other is just manifesting in her other hand. Quintessence means perfect in quality and class. How can you argue with that? Score: 100. Here's our final Storm Giant, and WizKids goes 4 for 4. Just another awesome miniature. Posed with a curved two-handed sword, point down, in his right hand, while he manifests a lightning bolt of translucent blue in his left, this mini is kitted out for battle. Armor is minimal, heavy boots with greaves, and a scale mail breastplate under a gray tunic. He is posed with head slightly tilted to the left, as if something has just caught his eye. That can't be good for someone. Man, I hate grade inflation, but I just can't help myself with these miniatures. Score: 100. And on that high note, we are done with the Giants. For our next couple of videos, we'll be looking at the two most common of the giant kin, ogres and trolls. Until then, thanks as always for watching Eye of the Beholder. Please leave a comment if you have something to say. To close, a very happy new year to all. Hope 2026 is a great year for everyone.